Michael, Eric Dyson, I think the part of this, if you expand the Ted Cruz story into a story about American democracy, is this idea that you can be sort of an ideological purist, right? His iron was forged in the heat of the conservative fire, right? He's been consistent throughout his life, but he's now in government, and government is not a place for ideological purity. It's fundamentally a place where you have to work together for it to function, and that we would have someone who is now ostensibly going to make a bid to be a candidate in the next presidential election who sees no value in compromise, no value in listening to the other side, no value in pragmatic policy that both sides can agree on, I think is a really worrisome trend.
I think so. I hate to play Jungian psychoanalyst, but
please do.
But the child is the father of the man, and if we go back to writing the Constitution, there's not Norbert Wiener, where he's a cybernetic genius. What he's doing here is he's going to major institutions being unmolested by enlightenment.
Right.
So regardless of being there, you just don't have any engagement with the infrastructure of consciousness that you have to compromise, that you come here not ideologically pure. You maintain your position, but it makes Barack Obama look even more like a genius, because what you do is you get into the sandlot and you learn to share the toys. You've got to negotiate. You've got to agree and disagree with your own party and with other people across the aisle. You learn to do that as the basic premise of democracy. These folk, it seems to me, are not interested in democracy. They're interested in imposing their particular ideological strain on the American subsect. And I think that's the problem here. And I think the failure to do so only is going to further marginalize him. He might get a few points now, but I think ultimately he gets compromised. And
Steve, that is a question. Does it further marginalize him? Because Ted Cruz brings up in the Time magazine piece, he says there's a tendency to describe conservatives as one of two things, stupid or evil. A conservative is either stupid, too dumb to know the right answers, or even worse, if they actually know the right answer, then they're evil. Ted Cruz has carved out a little niche for himself in Crazy Town, and like willingly sort of is the wacko bird, because it's neither evil nor stupid, and it seems to really be working for him.
Well, yeah, I think there's a bit of a false choice here. He could be simultaneously marginalizing himself in terms of viability as a national political leader who can win a general election in this country, and at the same time building his base of support within the Republican Party, because he is speaking directly to voters who, from the moment Barack Obama was elected in 2008, their reaction to Obama's ascension to the presidency was, okay, we have a new president from the other party. I wonder where we can work with him on health care. I wonder where we can work with him on the stimulus. Their reaction was, we want to fight this threat to our way of life. And Ted Cruz speaks directly to that. And I talked in the last segment about this litmus test that may be taking hold, that may be developing on the right now, that's popping up in the voices of all these people showing up at these town halls. Well, I mean, just compare what you heard in that clip from Ted Cruz talking about, this is the moment to end Obamacare. We can do it. We can win. We have to stand together. The purity of that message, the strength of that message to a Republican base that thinks that way versus a Republican who's saying, well, no, we need to fund this department, we need to get money for this, we need to do that. The Cruz one is so much more compelling to that audience.
But doesn't that reveal that actually he is a craven politician, and he is actually using our own liberal doctrine against us? Because we're all sitting here saying, well, he went to Harvard and he's got all these credentials. How could he be crazy? He's not crazy. I think he's very sly. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. He clearly has the gift of gab, right? He's a very good orator, and he's essentially, if you listen to what he's really saying, for as much as he may be able to write about the Constitution, he's bastardizing and distorting the Constitution, because the Constitution says this is how our government works, this is how we work together, and he's not for any of that. So I think he's sort of using our own bias against us to make it work for him within.
I mean, I think there are things he does that are, I mean, independent of the schooling and the sort of liberal elite institutions. There's his alienation of members of the Republican Party. I mean, that Mitch McConnell quote is so telling to me. The idea that you're not going to sort of give the thumbs up on Mitch's re-election efforts would seem to be sort of bombing yourself with political kryptonite.
No, I don't think he's bombing himself with kryptonite. I think right now he's setting himself up. He is launching a grassroots campaign. In that clip you just showed, he said, the people will decide this. He's saying, join my movement. He's modeling himself on Obama. Alex mentions in the piece that he was handing out David Plouffe's book to his staffers. And the tension is between what is good for Ted Cruz and what is good for the Republican Party. And I think it's pretty clear right now the Republican Party is not benefiting from Ted Cruz, but Ted Cruz is clearly benefiting from Ted Cruz.
Well, let me say one thing, and I know Eric Dyson is going to have something to say about this. There's a big difference in the "We are the change we've been waiting for" message that was espoused by President Obama, which was fundamentally a forward-thinking, progressive, collaborative message about investing in the government and believing in a project, which is the project of democracy. The Ted Cruz version is, you guys decide this thing is broken, you tell us what to do. It is not a participatory vision. It is not a collaborative vision.
Not at all. It's Ronald Reagan, but without any of the charisma or authority that came from his grandfatherly being, and bearing. Ronald Reagan could make a great speech. He could also have a sense of timeliness about tear down these walls, and he knew when to insert himself, even though I disagreed fundamentally with him and the ideologues around him. But he understood it was also about governance. Ted Cruz has no fundamental understanding. The point you made before has to be taken seriously. There's a difference between campaigning and the popularity that he is able to evoke, and governing, which means you got to compromise, talk to other people, disagree with them, have the cojones to stand up against your own party, and then forge consensus among a frayed democracy.
Kahunas and cojones. We will leave it there.